Jack here, JB of Music and Guitar Lessons. In this quick guitar tricks we're learning 5 tips for evoking the Phrygian sound. To do this I'll be using some licks which utilise techniques that are typical of Joe Satriani. If anything is too fast, just move the video back or slow it down with the cog in the corner. Pick tapping. You tap the note but with the pick instead of your fingers. It gives a more alien robotic aesthetic which really helps things sound a little bit more otherworldly. The side or the back of the pick will be much more consistent than trying to use the tip of it. I'm sticking to the same note that I'm tapping here until the last few bars, but there's a little bit of variation. Resolve to the G, the 5th the C for a solid but slightly strange feeling resolution. Secret bonus trick number 1 of 3, you can play like this for a different texture. So what I'm doing there is sort of a combination between picking through the string like you normally would when you pick it, and tapping it on. I'm sort of going through the string but trying to hit the fretboard as I go, alternate picking. Gives you this cool kind of weird scratchy sound. In between sort of picking and tapping, a bit of a combination really. There's a link to the backing track up there, or if you want a kind of funky or mellow version there's a link down in the comments. Also if you're looking for a jam track with some licks and ideas you can bounce off, and it's only for 10 minutes and can be quite tricky to come up with interesting ideas all the time. I've got this video where I'm improvising some licks, like a sort of trading souls thing, so that might be worthwhile checking out too. Octaves, a pretty stock but also very effective idea. Here I'm using some scratches to make it a little bit more funky. I'm leaning pretty hard on the 5th and also referencing the flat 2nd. Those are pretty good to highlight if you're in Phrygian, they're really kind of the money notes of this mode. At the pinches at the end you might want to try getting on individual strings first, just work out where they are, and you might need to angle your pick and the way you strum through the strings to get both of them. You might not, depends on your skill length, how you play. Just have a poke around and see where the harmonics are. You might want to consider using something like a pitch shifter for this sort of one, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Anyway, here it is slow. Trem picking, or the sort of controlled trem picking that he does. Going down the scale in groups of 3 notes and resolving to the root. Joe Satriani will often do these as triplets, so here's that variation as well. When doing this sort of thing he'll quite often reference the open string. He tends to favour the high E, but since that isn't in our scale, let's look at some using the G instead, since that is. Starting off with strict picking but for the first 4 notes only, then using more legato as it continues for a subtle shift in timbre. Having the open G, which as we know is the 5th in C Phrygian, really helps pull out an exotic quality from it. Over these types of licks, Joe Satriani will sometimes use a pitch shifter which will enhance the more sort of celestial elements of the Phrygian sound. The Sag pinch dive has a really cool ethereal sound as well, lesson in the top right if you want to know how to do that. But let's look at this one slowly. Okay, just a quick note to say I've done a similar video with Phi in the Lydian mode, link up there. A lot of these tips transfer very well across the modes, so for example the seconds idea in the Vi video can be applied quite effectively to the Phrygian mode, obviously resolving to a different tonal centre to reinforce the exotic Phrygian sound. A sax lesson just wouldn't be a sax lesson without at least some legato. I'm ascending line here using typical 3 note per string shapes. For longer legato solos or passages you might want to consider using a modulation effect like a phaser or flanger, or even a wah-wah just to help keep things a tad more interesting. Anyway, here it is slow. Finally, Phrygian dominant and secret bonus trick number 2, pick scrape picking. I'm almost pick scraping here using the edge of my pick or the back of it in a sideways or sort of circular motion really near the bridge, and you want to be in the bridge pickup as well. Kind of experiment and see what works best for you, but you're just doing that, rubbing against the strings. Again, it really kind of highlights that weird, scratchy alien sound that just brings out the best of Phrygian. Now, theory-wise, this scale shouldn't really work over Phrygian backing track, but it just sort of does. That out note, the E, just adds a new flavour to the exotic tension. This isn't the most exciting lick to end on, so let's apply this to some of the previous ideas we've gone through. You could do pick tapping or octaves, but I'm going to go with some legato, descending this time since we've already had one going up the scale. And here it is again, but a bit more slowly. Some of you might have noticed that the C Phrygian dominant scale actually has an E in it. So what this means is we can revisit the controlled trem picking idea from before, but this time we can actually reference the open E string because it will be in key. This is a quick little group of 4 this time, just to give you some more Satch-like ideas. To recap the main ideas of each lick, we had pick tapping, we had octaves, and then we got the playing up and down the string thing, so there's a few things going on here. You can do the kind of controlled trem picking where you're working out what you're doing, you can do a slightly more sporadic trem picking, and also you can do the open E and sneak in some legato as well. It does tend to favour the E string, so that's why I did some examples up on there. There's just straightforward legato as well, and of course a bit of cheeky Phrygian dominant on the side as well. For more quick tricks, check out the playlist up there. And cool, so as always, I really hope this video has been useful for you guys and it's been both speedy and informative. Got some cool licks to show off, some new concepts for sounds to explore, and a solid foundation to build upon for shaping ideas into your own craft and unique guitar playing style. I've got a few more of these videos planned out, matching a guitarist with a mode, but any suggestions or requests are more than welcome. Obviously, depending on the player, it might not be doable. For example, Eric Clapton isn't that likely to have many tricks or licks in the Super Locrian mode. But yep, if that has been the case, you've taken something away, found it interesting, want to show support for the channel, give it a wee pop on YouTube, please do consider to share, like, comment, enable notifications and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.